Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to Addis Dialogue. The Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission is mandated to facilitate inclusive and constructive national dialogue processes across the country as part of the efforts going on to bring about lasting solutions to the country's persistent issues. In this regard, the Commission has already initiated a 3-day consultation forum to collect different inputs and national agenda items from the different federal institutions and actors across the country. We're going to be delving into all this. And my guest today is Dr. Yonas Adaye. He's the National Dialogue Commissioner, and he's going to shed more light into the major purpose, the challenges, and the opportunities. I'm your host, Shifar Alak. Do stay with us. Well, Dr. Yonas Adaye, many thanks for making the time to join me, despite the fact that you have a busy schedule. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So the Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission has initiated a 3-day agenda collecting consultative forum. Let's first off talk about the significance of this forum. So could you walk me through the major significance and importance of this consultation forum, which seeks to collect different inputs and agendas from the different federal institutions in the country?
Right. How important is this federal level national dialogue engagement? That's very important that people really must be well aware of. As you are well familiar with, so far we covered about 13 Ethiopian regions as a whole, including 11 regions and 2 city administration. Anyway, so because it should be very clear for people, and nearly 127,000 people took part in it.
Wow.
Yes, indeed. Wow. And so it's absolutely popular engagement, you can possibly say. And these were all conducted at sort of grassroots level, semi-grassroots, but this is the highest level where you also get engaged with the executives at the same time, the body that produces the legal aspects that leads the whole country. So we have also regional leaders, presidents coming to Addis, and political parties and eminent personalities. These all are here, and their engagement in this national dialogue goes without saying. Its importance is almost telling, but it is very important for me to again emphasize that this is what's called top to down, because fundamentally we were doing bottom up.
Right. Previously,
yes. Yes. So this time we also, as we promised, also we collect from the top. When we say the top, means those who are leaders that are giving directions, political party leaders, elites, yes, media leaders, political, military leaders, military and security. So these all should also produce their agenda regarding Ethiopia's structural cause of conflict. Why Ethiopia keep on time and again going back and forth in this incessant internal conflict. So how do they think their own thoughts? So this what's been done so far in this. Today is maybe a day and a half, I would say, and yesterday they started brainstorming and again giving shape for their agenda. And today, this morning, they're presenting what they collected as agenda and also crafting and refining the collected agenda. And they will sit this afternoon together and present it to us at the embryonic stage, what it looks like. And tomorrow they are going to consolidate it, refine it, organize it coherently, then submit it to the Ethiopian National Commission. That's one. Secondly, and most importantly, of course, their engagement. Because, as you may remember, Shifa, to be honest, we have always 3 pillars, fundamentally 3 pillars. The first one is bringing about national consensus. Secondly, building a culture of peace or a culture of dialogue. And the third one is building trust between the state and the society. So that's the foundation of the entire national dialogue. And so these are being practiced, and we focused on how much they are listening to each other, how much they are sympathetic when they listen to each other, how much they value opposing ideas. Can they accommodate? Do they have some space, political space free for others to engage? That is a foundation of development of democratic culture in Ethiopia today. So these have been so far successfully conducted, and God willing, inshallah, will conclude tomorrow after having collected our agenda.
So talking about consolidating the different agendas collected from the different federal institutions and actors across the country, how does the process of consolidating the agendas collected across the country influence the inclusivity of the national dialogue processes?
Yeah, that's equally important question. That consolidation aspect, as I witnessed and observed while sitting there, some of them said, look, I represent regional party. My agenda was not included in that. Could you please? Sure. And I am national party. I am representing that. While we are focusing on unity in diversity, this area, that specific nation or nationalities areas, they have these administrative problems. Boundaries, those problems are same time, the administrative boundaries. So these are the agenda to be included. Then you listen to that. In other words, how diversity is accommodated in action, which I really saw. That is open-mindedness, listening to each other, including all the agendas at the same time coming together until they are crafted, recrafted, and set by the National Dialogue Commission itself. So this inclusive dialogue not only represents those who are here, but also even some parties which boycotted from the National Dialogue as well. And even those who are in disagreement with the federal government and in the jungle in the fight, their agenda also are being reflected from the very society because they came from where those people are operating. So you can possibly see the inclusivity of the national dialogue process in general, not only those who are in Ethiopia, but also, in the administrative area, but also those who are in the opposition as well, including in the diaspora, even though we have a separate agenda for diaspora as well.
Let's also talk about some of the risks, potential risks on the one hand, and of course, the opportunities on the other hand. In this regard, Dr. Yonas, could you briefly walk me through some of potential risks and challenges that you could be faced with? And also, what are some of the opportunities, golden opportunities, if you will, in making the transition from agenda collection processes to the actual national dialogue efforts?
Yeah, the opportunities far exceed the risks we anticipate to face and risks that we have been also facing as well. The opportunities in the first place. People really proudly tell you that this is my national dialogue. They tell you that they own it because it is locally owned. Literature tells us from the national dialogue around the world, when it is locally owned, when you have the people saying that this is my own agenda, I will take risk for this, I'll do it, I'll pay whatever price I might be demanded. If they are prepared psychologically, materially, and financially, then you can expect the success of it. So that's why I say what we have the opportunity definitely far exceeds. And I say also we are tired. We are tired of war, violence, evictions, and internally displaced people sitting there, refugees. So now the best way for us for sustainable peace and development is national dialogue. That's people's choice. The risks are, naturally, some or very few could disagree. In peace studies, we call conflict entrepreneurship. Those who get some benefit out of the conflict by making two brothers fight and then getting some advantage from that, they might keep on adding fuel into the fire. And that's also gradually, definitely reducing. And we can say that because of the broad masses or the entire people being more interested in dialogue than in these negative activities, And another risk is misunderstanding. The use of national dialogue being misunderstood, misconstrued. Say, for instance, some people taking us equivalent to the government. No, we are not. We are an independent entity. We're operating, of course, as you know, I'm coming from the university, others are coming from different areas. So that misunderstanding is another risk. So until that misunderstanding is cleared, and until those people who have been working against get engaged together to build the nation and the sustainable peace, I'm sure our dialogue will continue, because dialogue is important. It is needed, not because you agree with each other, but you disagree as well. That's why it's important. So for risks to be mitigated and dealt with, then we have different mechanisms as well, engaging with the people, for instance, and the religious leaders, the political leaders, and civil society at the same time. So these are the best ways out in the process.
Moving on from there, how are you making sure that the agendas collected from the different regions and from the different federal institutions across the country are fairly represented in the national dialogue processes?
This is a pragmatic question. The practice will answer it. And the very practice, we have a procedure how to go about it, how to balance what comes from different regions, how to accommodate them without any exception. And we have some procedures we have already promulgated and which are already in place, so we follow them. And at the same time, very interestingly, most agenda items are repeated. This is what we call in our qualitative research paradigm, saturation of data. It keeps on getting saturated. So because of that repetition, which keeps on giving you a pattern and gives you a sort of format to even follow, and that to me is a real blessing at the same time. So this gives us some hint how to balance, in addition to what we have, some procedures which help us to operate what we have collected, and how to select, how to organize, how to prioritize, and finally how to present it for national dialogue there as well.
Interesting. Let's also talk about the mechanisms that you are putting in place in order to prioritize some of the agendas that have been gathered or collected. In this regard, could you tell me some of the means that you're going to employ?
Right. We had raw data, for instance, the agenda as they came. Then these were typed, translated, just verbatim, without making any change into it. And then we had to think of the number of participants in the National Dialogue Conference, and then how to organize that one. First and foremost, what are the basic agenda that represent Ethiopia's structural problems, particularly structural conflict. So these are to be identified not only by the National Dialogue Commission commissioners, but also the advisory bodies as well, also some experts as well. Then after having selected those agenda items, then we move on to prioritizing them. Which ones really are national? Which ones are regional or intra-regional or inter-regional? Which ones could go down to even zones? So that's how we have been so far formulating our own formula to follow, to identify, to sieve, and then find out agendas that represent the basic problems, the basic causes or structural causes of conflict in Ethiopia today. Because if you see the proclamation that established Ethiopian National Dialogue Commission, it focuses on the fundamental causes rather than everything else there. So that being the case, then we follow that format or decree given to us. On the basis of that, then we have already established that format, which could help us to be guided. And we also need some input from experts in the area of law, politics, economy, and of course even geography as well. So we have, and history, because we have this narrative and historical questions at the same time coming. So altogether, that's how we organize ourselves.
Let's also talk about your time frame of making this transition from agenda collection processes to the actual implementation of the national dialogue processes. In this regard, do you have a specific time frame that you are thinking when you're going to make this transition from agenda collection to the actual national dialogue processes across the country?
Yeah, but that's a very tricky question. The best way for me is to refrain from saying anything else, simply because it might prove to be maybe lying sometimes. So the best way for me out is to keep quiet regarding that. However, given the national election coming up, and at the same time different national events to take place, then I think we should be able to finalize this big event. And also we should think of the transition from collection of agenda to discussion of the agenda itself, maybe in terms of a couple of, or at least months, or maybe 3-4 months at the same time. That would be the best educated guess. And as I said, I cannot mention precisely this time because we haven't yet agreed upon the date with the plenary meeting with the all commissioners.
What are some of the interesting ideas they have so far told you, and how satisfied are you personally?
Right. Honestly speaking, I'm absolutely delighted. I'm very happy. You know, the test, the proof of pudding is in testing it, as they say it in English. So the very process made most people, where we went, really happy. And some elders came up to the National Dialogue headquarters and expressed their satisfaction, telling straight away to all of us that even though your commissioners may not give us all the answers to our questions, we are absolutely delighted with the very process. Because without anyone monitoring us, without anyone hushing us down, without any fear, with respect and understanding, we express our ideas. That for us is almost half solving our problems. That really made me absolutely happy. When we were in Amhara and Oromia region, given the or at least very negative media before we entered into the process, what we heard was, when you can't go to Amhara region, you can't go to Oromia region. But finally, when we went, and when we discussed, when we conducted national dialogue, the youth, the shining face, and the elders, at some point, elders came together in Bahada and organized a sort of event for us to acknowledge that we took risk and we ran this national dialogue there, and they were absolutely delighted. So that, gives people hope. Hope is the foundation of life. No hope, no life almost. So that being the case, then I am absolutely delighted about the process, about the engagement so far, and achievement.
Dr. Yonas Adaye, National Dialogue Commission Commissioner, thank you so much for your work and, of course, for your time. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, EBC. I was expecting BBC World Service or CNN or Al Jazeera to come here and to teach and to reach out the whole world, but none of them appeared here, very unfortunately. If there were some negative consequences or incidents, that would have been here the first. I'm saying it because I was asked 3-4 years ago from Bush House, directly from London, when there was a fight in Tigray. And before that also I was asked on different negative things. I don't know why they are not recording what's happening here, because Ethiopia's peace is a peace of the whole world, not only of the Horn of Africa or Africa, but for the whole world. So I wish they would come here, cover it as well. We invited time and again. We haven't seen it, so as to cover in foreign languages, including English, Arabic, or French, but none so far turned. I'm sure EBC can substitute and can continue working in foreign languages and to reach out to our respected and beloved diplomatic community. By the way, at this point, I have to also add the role of diplomatic communities. Really, they have been playing very positive role, and their contribution for national dialogue through UNDP is remarkable. At the same time, also, particularly the American embassy, the ambassador himself, how much they have been really trying hard to mediate between the the rebels in the government, and also inviting them to come to national dialogue. We really are grateful to them, and we are confident they'll continue the good work. And thank you very much once again.
Well, dear viewers, with that, we come to the end of today's program. Many thanks to you as well for having been with us so far. Until I see you next time with yet another program. It's a goodbye from me, Shifaron.